Which is one that unfortunately I have not rewatched since it came out. And that is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I remember liking this when it came out. I was a teenager when it came out. I thought it was very sweet, very wholesome story. Obviously, loved the main two actors, but it wasn't one that like I was super attached to, or that like to me will ever be a favorite. But I do think it's a decent story, and it definitely all comes together. It is a bit long, in my opinion,
Yeah,
but I still think it's very good.
yeah.
That's kind of the best way I would describe it.
I love Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I was kind of the same with you because I originally watched it when it first came out, and I haven't rewatched it since until this rewatch, and I liked
Mhm.
it when it came out. But like my one critique still remains the same. It's too long. It
Yeah.
does drag, so that does discredit it. It's not as good as Fight Club. All right. It's not as good as Fight Club. Don't worry. But I really really liked this rewatch. I had a lot of fun with it. It's such a sweet story. My review is, let me just get it up. My review is very apt. This is 2.5 hours of Brad Pitt just getting hotter. And holy
Actual.
smokes, this guy can age like fine wine. I really really like this movie. It's kind of like a, it reminds me a lot of Forrest Gump in a way, where Forrest Gump's more of an epic. I do put this on like that epic sort of storytelling of just like this one person's life throughout, and I normally love those films, which is kind of why I think I really like this. I love those like long films that are all about a person's life from start to finish, like Goodfellas. So that's kind of like why I really like this film for sure. I think Kate Blanchett is one of the greatest actresses to ever live. And
Yes.
she's, I think she's my second favorite actress of all time, just behind Toni Collette. Um, Australia
That's
represent.
valid.
Australia represent. It happens. But yeah, it's a bit too long in the tooth, for sure. But
Yeah.
following this man throughout his whole life of everything that he's gone through, and even just down to the reconciliation he has with his father, is so well done. And like these issues that he has to deal with, that are like completely flipped to of like what we would have to deal with, like going into old age, of like he's going into young age, and he
Hmm.
like the, it's minor spoiler for Curious Case of Benjamin Button, that like he chooses to leave his family because he doesn't want his wife. I'm not sure if his wife. I'm not sure if they got married. Well, let's say they did. His wife and to raise two kids because he would be going towards adolescence. Um,
Yeah.
so I love that idea. That idea is like kind of just, it's it's kind of like the reason why you look at dementia and see it as the most terrifying disease of all time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was while you were talking, I was thinking to myself, like, I really should rewatch this. And I apologize to the listeners. I should have done it before this, but it's just too damn long.
It's
Didn't
too
have
long.
enough
I
time.
get it. I get it.
Um, but I've heard from other people who have rewatched it as they've gotten a little bit older, like in their late 20s, 30s, and say that they do enjoy it more on rewatch. I do wonder now that I'm a little bit older and I've aged a little bit myself, I feel like my perspective of some of those themes would be different watching it now. And so I do want to give it another go just because now that you're talking about that, especially like the idea of like dementia, I think it will hit a little bit differently. I
Yeah.
still always remember that scene though of them walking on the sidewalk when he's just a little wee lad.
We lad.
Yeah, it got me, it made me cry definitely the first time I saw it, but it definitely comes full circle in the whole movie, and it is a really sweet story.
Yeah, and to shout out to Tilda Swinton. She plays this side character that just appears for maybe 20 minutes of the film. She's awesome, and her character is amazing. And
It's awesome at everything. I was just talking about that earlier today.
her character is like she wanted to swim between the coasts of England, and like do that one swim, and she tried it, and she got like a mile off the finish line and stopped and got too tired. And she'd always told herself, this was like 20 years before. I'd always told myself that I'd go and redo it, but I just never did. And then like Benjamin's just like, you should like basically just talks up, and it's just like
Hmm.
her, the whole messaging is just to always believe in yourself, sort of thing. And like
Yeah.
to, and even he's like, and he even mentions that failure is sometimes the best success. Um, and then towards the end of the film, he like looks in the at the screen, and she's done it in her old age, and he's just like, yeah. And he like walks away. And it's like this idea that this man has just left so many impressions on people throughout his whole life is so beautifully done. I love this film. This movie's great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're kind of making me really want to rewatch it. So I feel like
give it
I'm
a try.
definitely going to do that
Yeah,
because I do think it's going to hit a bit differently. Now that I'm actually an adult, not a 15-year-old who doesn't really give a heck about anything.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll be looking forward to rewatching it. But this was definitely a tone shift for Fincher. And
Oh
as we
yeah,
talk about the next one as well, this was definitely where I feel like he started to kind of, I guess, spread his wings into other types of films that were kind of not his standard formula. So
yeah. I'm looking
after
at
that,
Letterboxd at the moment. The top review is kind of similar to mine, but like the 2 hour wait before Brad Pitt gets hot is more suspenseful than Hitchcock. Holy smokes! When that time change happens, you're like, oh, he's hot as fuck. Like it's very amped. So definitely, it just deserves a rewatch just because of that.
there's one that says dermatologists hate him. People are so funny with their reviews. I wish I could be this funny.
That's
That
great.
that's making me laugh. But yeah, definitely a movie that deserves a rewatch. But yeah, definitely an interesting shift for him, and I'm glad that he did because I think you're right. He would have done well to stay in his kind of normal formula, but I think it's good to branch out as a director and try other things. And
It's
this one's actually, I think, mostly loved, so I think it was a good thing that he branched out.
it's nuts to think that this is made by the same person that did Seven.
Yeah,
Nuts. Yeah.
100%.